Yeah. Hey guys, all right, just before the show starts, I wanted to let you guys know that my fight against cancel culture is still happening. Please go to the description below. There's a link titled Support My Fight Against Cancel Culture. If you want to help my fight, please consider giving a bit of a donation. All the information's in that link. With that being said, enjoy the show.
Can I throw it into a chat?
Or mix it.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Let's Talk. Jannie and Carter were just talking about if they want to WhatsApp or email each other, so ignore that part. But as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, I have here three gentlemen with me, each with their own tech background, if I can put it that way. I have Louis Nell with me. I have Carter from White Noise podcast, and Jannie, who you've obviously seen on my show before, part of Tech Tuesday shows and other things that we do on this channel. So before we get into the topic at hand, let me also say, ladies and gentlemen, please, if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Please also like, and please use the super chat function to highlight a question or comment. By law, I have to address it if you use a super chat, just so you know. Other than that, boys, what's the first thing we're going to talk about? We're talking about cryptocurrency. I think maybe the best way to start with this conversation is to first define cryptocurrency. Who wants to go first?
Louis, I'm going to nominate you. Go.
Okay.
Yeah, Louis.
Okay. No pressure. So if we if we have to say what a cryptocurrency is, it's basically a if we look at what there's currency and there's money. So currency is something that's tender, that's issued by an institution. So you get money, and the characteristics of money is it must be widely accepted, a unit of account. It must be a medium of exchange. So cryptocurrency fills all those three characteristics, and it is actually a socially agreed upon kind of money, a peer-to-peer money that we can spend directly without a third party intervening, like a bank or a government. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good definition of cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Okay. So digital money.
I think one of the most common ones that everybody should know is going to be Bitcoin. It was also the first one that was out. So Bitcoin is the de facto the de facto currency in terms of cryptocurrency. So as we always compare all of our fiat currencies, so like rands and dollars and pounds and whatever, to like the United States dollar, Bitcoin is that.
What's the big difference between fiat currency and cryptocurrency, you guys would say? In my opinion, what I know from my side, what I would fire out off the bat is governments can print money kind of with impunity. And as they do that, they actually devalue the currency. The more they print, the more they devalue the currency. And apparently where cryptocurrencies kind of differ in that regard, there's a finite amount available. And with time, actually, they release less to actually increase the scarcity. Louis, you can help me out if I missed a technicality there. And I think that's one of the big differentiators. And I think that's why it keeps its value. And with time, it actually increases in value substantially more. Where with money, fiat currency, you actually see a decrease on an annual basis. And as time moves along, you remember when your parents used to say, we used to buy this for 5 cents. We used to go to the movies and buy food and dinner with 20 cents. That's because the value of that currency inherently was much more when it is 10, 20, 15 years later. And I think that's one interesting aspect that makes cryptocurrencies actually very attractive. So that's kind of one of my stuff, guys. That's for you.
You're spot on, Carter, because cryptocurrency or Bitcoin is deflationary. So where fiat currency has inflation built into it, it's pegged at 6%, but it's probably more per year. Because the supply or what you call the stock, the flow of the currency gets restricted every couple of years. So you have the reverse of inflation happening, where it's deflation. So it's actually store of value than fiat currency, and something like the rand or the dollar, which is a fiat currency, is the Latin for in good faith. So it's a currency that's backed by the faith of the government. It's not backed by anything other than just the word. So
and traditionally, gentlemen, money used to be backed fiat currency by the gold standard. So the gold standard a few years ago in many countries, if I'm not mistaken, again, I stand to be corrected. The gold standard basically meant if we've got so much money in circulation, be it $10 million, we probably have a stash of $10 million of gold. Was it always directly proportional, or was it percentage-wise proportional, like banks like to do? Anyone have some clarity on that? Sorry, I don't read up much about that because the gold standard isn't being used anymore in many cases.
I think it was direct one-to-one, so they would vault the same amount of gold, and after I think Nixon in 76, they went off the gold standard in the US. So the US actually didn't keep the same amount of gold in vaults anymore. So the government could actually increase the supply of money above what they had in their reserves.
There we go. And that's what happened sorry, Jannie. And a runaway effect of that can be seen in Zimbabwe or Venezuela, where your money is worth nothing at the end of the day. Cool.
I think that's where the problem started, though, right? Is the moment that got decoupled, because with cryptocurrency, you don't have that. With cryptocurrency, like you said, there is that finite amount, which is like with gold as well. Ultimately, there's only so much gold around the globe, but also you can only have so much gold in your vault, and that gives it that. I think that link to like gold. If I had to compare cryptocurrency to something physical, it would probably be compared to something like gold, because you only have that amount of it, and at some point you can't have more. So just interesting, you guys will know, I think there's only like 21 million bitcoins, 21 million bitcoins that can be mined or that's in existence. So when you get to 21 million, there is no more bitcoin. I think we're currently standing on 17 or 18 million of the bitcoin that's been mined. So it's getting near that end of that all the Bitcoin would be mined.
That's it. And that's why they call it hard money, because it has the supply cannot be modified. There'll only ever be 21 million in existence. So that fixed supply gives makes it a hard money. The Austrian economists call it hard money, and anything else that's like government money is not hard money.
Soft money.
Unsound money.
Soft cash.
I just want to quickly say something. Okay, so first off, disclaimer, we're not here to give financial advice, because we don't want to be, we don't want anyone to say like, yo, but on the Joe show, Louis and Carter and Jannie said I should like invest 1 million rand and now I'm lost everything. No, we're not here for that. We're just going to explain cryptocurrency, and also we'll happily take in questions and maybe talk about some of the myths, which is what the main point of the show is all about. But also, I thought Gentle Inflatables has asked a question, so I thought I'd ask it to you guys. Can anyone, because this is interesting, I want to know this. Can anyone steal your crypto?
Okay, let's touch on that one. And I think after that question, I think we should just distinguish the centralized nature of normal fiat versus the decentralized nature, because that's actually very relevant to this question.
Okay.
Jannie, you've got some fun wallet stories tonight, if I'm not mistaken. Do you want to maybe add this question to your fun stories and answer it? Louis and I will jump in or add to it.
Yeah, cool. So, I mean, can someone steal your cryptocurrency? So I think there's been some interesting scams, though, where people were scammed out of their cryptocurrency and things like that, because, and we haven't spoken about it, but it's because of the untraceability almost of it, because although within the blockchain it's traceable, but once it starts exchanging that hands, you kind of can't tell where it's gone anymore. But let's say, so where do you store your cryptocurrency? Because remember, there's no bank at the moment, though, right? There's no central authority, like Carter was saying. So you have this decentralized bank, so everybody keeps a ledger of everybody's money. So everybody knows how much everybody has, kind of. Not quite, but it works in that type of concept. So, and you store your cryptocurrency, let's just call it Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever. You store that in a wallet. Now, that wallet is protected with some secret keys, and those keys only you know, which means if you lose those keys, it's unrecoverable. And there is no way for somebody to recover that back for you. And if you've lost your keys, you've kind of like lost your wallet. And if you've had a lot of cryptocurrency in there, you would have lost everything. So there's some interesting stories on how people have lost their cryptocurrency in the past because they don't back up those keys in a secure place. Now, those keys can be in random form of strings, numbers, passwords, whatever, and you can write it down or print it out and store it in a safe or something, physical. But in 2009, so a year after Bitcoin kind of got released, there was a guy that was mining cryptocurrency, and he's mined, I think, like 7,500 Bitcoin, which is a lot of money in today's date. And his laptop crashed and his hard drive crashed. And after he's disposed of it and he realized that, oops, I lost my keys, that hard drive was in some toxic rubbish dump somewhere, and that guy's still searching for that hard drive today. Now, that's expected at something like, I think, over $100 million worth of cryptocurrency that is lost. So, that's an example of a guy that didn't back up his keys. Now,
wait a second. Is that why you asked me that question today? What would I do with $100 million?
It's not my, but yes, that is why. But it's not my, yeah. So what other people have done is they've tried to memorize their passwords and forgotten it to their wallets. And they're actually spending tons and tons of money going to like hypnotists and whatever to try and like remember that point in time where they saw that piece of paper to try and recover their money. There's people that actually, specialize in like doing password recovery from mind using hypnotism and whatever. So that's another interesting one. But my favorite one is actually a guy that wrote it down on a sticky note or a yellow Post-it note or whatever and stuck it on the fridge. And they went on holiday and came back, and cleaning crew came in and threw that sticky note away.
No.
Now, that sticky note had his password and his PIN on, and he forgot his PIN, but he got his password. He remembered his password, so he could get halfway through logging into his wallet, though, right? So what then happened is through, I think it's 6 months, this guy was trying to every time type in the PIN. He starts probably at 000, 001, 002, brute forcing his PIN to try and get to it eventually. And then he gets timed out, and it takes forever to get to his PIN. So what then eventually happened is the crypto wallet company contacted him and said, hey, there's a security flaw that your PIN could be exposed in a certain way or whatever, and it was identified by some kid somewhere, and we need to do urgent maintenance on the wallets and whatever to increase the security, and it was being done on next week this time or something. So this guy tracked down this hacker kid, paid him something like $3,000 or $4,000 to show him how exactly he did it so that he could reveal his PIN code and then get back into his cryptocurrency. So essentially hacked his own wallet. But it was only because there was a security flaw in how the password and PIN combination was used. But in those examples, I mean, if somebody were to take that piece of paper that you write it down in, or wherever you store it, like if you store your passwords on your desktop or something, guys, that is really bad practice, because if somebody gets hold of that, they can essentially log into your wallet and they can transfer whichever cryptocurrencies you have to your crypto wallet, and that money is essentially gone, because in this world, there's nobody to run to. There's no authority to run to say, hey, Carter stole my Bitcoin. It doesn't work like that kind of thing. So that money's gone. So yeah, there's been some scams as well. I don't know if you guys know of some of the scams, but I know some really big millions of dollars of scams that people have been in with cryptocurrency. But I think it's probably just initial coin offerings or something that fell flat. But yeah, the story here is how that wallet work. And if you don't protect those passwords, that's one way of your wallet being emptied out, so to say.
Sure.
I can maybe add to this two things.
Oh, your mic needs to go up, Carter.
Hear me now.
Very low.
Soft.
Very soft.
It's a bit soft.
Now it's off. Actually sounds better this way, to be honest.
You can't hear me now.
The other way.
No, it's really soft. Why did it go soft?
Cool.
Now he's on mute.
Now he's on mute.
I think he's on mute.
Okay, am I unmuted now?
You
there,
sound like
but
you're
it's
very far away from the mic. We know you're not because we can see that you're close to the mic, but it's,
Okay.
for some reason I don't know.
tune it. Okay, is it still soft?
It's
I'll
getting
just
better?
tune it if it is. Okay, cool. I'll tune it in a bit. Can I speak, or
Now it's,
Louis, are
now
you going to
it's
That's
take?
better.
Now it's
Perfect.
back.
That's better.
Okay. So 2 points maybe there, Jannie. That's interesting. Is or maybe to Louis as well, because Louis, you kind of know this. If you lose your currency, it's not because someone was able to hack it. It is because of your own neglect. Let's be very clear. The technology behind it is very strong. Louis can't go and hack the internet to get my money. That's the blockchain makes that impossible. But what he can do is he can send me a mail and say, hey, Carter, I'm doing an update on your wallet tomorrow. I need your credentials. And if I give my credentials away, I'm screwed. As Jannie mentioned, then you're done. And then you'll have nothing left. That's the kind of, so the attack vector is basically, like Jannie mentioned, you either leave your note somewhere and someone gets your credentials, like the cleaner lady, and she cleans you out, like literally, or Louis is sending me a mail saying, hey, there's going to be is phishing, basically, and I'm giving him information. But you can't go and hack someone's wallet. That's physically impossible. Again, that is what makes this technology so promising. So, Louis, can you maybe explain the distributed decentralized ledger in a way that the audience can understand, not so technical audience can understand, and why it's kind of impossible to hack from a security perspective?
Okay. So just to add to what Jannie and Carter has just said, because the blockchain is a decentralized database, a really slow and decentralized database. There's no central point of attack. So if you hack the database, you can't actually hack it because it's spread over the globe. So the Bitcoin database has never been hacked ever since in its existence since more than 10, 20 years ago. Where are we now? 2020. So it's
12 years ago. 2008.
12 years ago. Yes. It's never been hacked. So there's no single point of attack in the database. So you've actually got to compromise someone's credentials. So you've got to get their private key or their password to their wallet to actually get into it. So as Carter said, it is you have to compromise your own security or give it away, or if there's software on your machine that can access those credentials, then it can get access to that. But it's a pretty secure system because it's not owned by anyone specifically. It's not like a bank or if you look at internet banking, say your bank has your internet credentials stored on a single database. So if that database gets hacked, then they can access that. But with Bitcoin, it's not like that because they can't actually access their database. They have to actually access the person who has the credentials, and it's much harder.
Interesting. What's next?
Do we want to talk real quick just about like that concept, maybe Louis, around how that blockchain works and why those transactions are immutable in a way? Because in your example, it's like a cash in transit heist, though, right? The bank isn't being robbed, but it's a cash in transit heist. Essentially, that's when your wallet gets stolen, kind of. But from the key point I think that you're trying to make is that Bitcoin hasn't been hacked because it can't be tampered with. because there's an up-to-date copy of that ledger on every computer that's essentially connected to that Bitcoin network that's mining, that's whatever. And that makes it really hard, because I think statistically, you would need to have more computing power than 50% or 51% of the entire network to be able to fool the transaction. And that is highly unlikely. In the current day with technology that we have, whatever, won't happen.
Spot on. So, Jannie, they call it the 51% attack. So you need more than 51% of the network power to change the transaction history. Because it's decentralized, so the transaction history is there. So to change the history, you have to have more than 51% of the voting power to say that the transaction that you are faking is legit. And that's never happened, because it's impossible. It costs too much money. You need insane amount of computers to do that, and especially because the Bitcoin blockchain is 12 years old. The amount of money and power that you need to do that is impossible, and no one's been able to do that. So there's definitely been attempts to compromise it, but it's fail-proof. And also, you mentioned something called Immutable. It's a one-way database, so you can't change stuff once it's written to the blockchain, the Bitcoin blockchain, and most of the blockchains work like that. So you can only write to it. So once the truth has been written to you, that it's there, it's set in stone. So if you have to change it, you have to update that entry, and now you can't just suddenly change it randomly. It has to be in sync with what's been written there already. So it makes it much more difficult to do fake or fraudulent transactions. Yeah.
Because each transaction is connected. So each transaction has a history of the previous transaction. So you can't go back in time and change last week's transaction, because it won't work. It needs to be done in real time, almost at 51% of the compute in the world, which makes it impossible.
That's it.
Cool. So I got some interesting questions coming in. People are starting to ask about tax, and also Henk Klopper saying, I can see Carter's getting excited now. Henk Klopper saying you should this is interesting. I don't know how to Okay, let me also say this for those of you who are watching. I have no idea how this stuff works. Like, I'm sitting, that's why I'm so quiet, because I'm letting the guys who have experience or more experience with it talk. I'm just here to learn and also ask questions. So Henk Klopper saying you should declare any crypto profits or losses to SARS, investment income, or you do a trade with crypto, you need to declare this. Or if you do a trade with crypto, you need to declare this. I did not know that. So let's get into that, this whole tax and what Henk is talking about. Carter, you start. You've been itching for this one.
Yeah. Well, Henk, if so, the first question is, you have to ask yourself: is SARS able in their current capacity? Is any tax body able in their current capacity, maybe at this stage, to actually go into the blockchain and track your transactions? And the answer, and short answer to that, is no. They can see, depending on what exchange you use. Obviously, you have to get up there. So you have to take your rands up to a wallet or an exchange, and then from that exchange, you choose what you want to buy, be it Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, whatever you want to go with, and how much you want to buy of it. So that initial transaction, you're correct, maybe that's where they can have a money trace. But once it's in the cryptoverse, as I like to call it, there's no chance in hell that they're seeing where that money is going. Now, if you have a corrupt government like ours that loves pissing away your hard-earned tax money and spending it on their cronies, at what stage does it become your responsibility not to fund these people anymore? I think we way past that point. So my personal opinion is, every time you pay VAT on anything, 15% of that transaction goes to the state. What do you get for that?
Potholes.
We get potholes.
Load shedding.
Yes. load
Should I?
shedding, and and we have
Am
to
I
pay
right?
for our private schools. We have to pay for private security companies. We are paying for a lot of services that the state should be delivering, but they fail dismally. So inadvertently, you are already paying a hell of a tax, stealth taxes, up and above your income tax and the VAT that you pay on a daily basis. So in my opinion, how I would like to see cryptocurrency, I would love to see people transacting in cryptocurrency. I want Jannie to build a gaming PC for me. Now, Jannie, yes, he might have to go to a provider to buy the parts, but for his time and effort, I can pay him for his labor directly in crypto, and I don't have to pay VAT on that because it's a amount Jannie and I agree on. So that creates something actually quite beautiful, because now we can transact in, especially in the services sector, because services sectors, if I do a service, there's no hardware involved. I don't have to go to a computer shop to buy the parts. I can go to Louis and say, Louis, I want a website. This is the amount, build it for me, boom, and I pay half the deposit. I pay from my Bitcoin wallet to his Bitcoin wallet, and he has the money and he starts. There's your 50% deposit. After that, I pay the rest when I'm happy with the website, done. So what in actual fact happens is we are back into a system where we can pay peer-to-peer transactions between each other on our own terms, and we don't have to involve SARS, and we don't have to involve the banks, and we don't have to involve the state anymore. So we are doing free market, God's free market work by directly transacting without any goddamn middleman, and that gets me excited. So yes, you can declare your assets if you want to, but how would they know if you don't declare it?
Well,
so
that's-
just putting it out there, disclaimer.
That's what Hank said after
Yes.
that. He said SARS cannot check that, yes, but you must be honest in declaring your income question mark with a...
So when is income though, Carter? Because interestingly, the now I forgot the name and I always forget the name. Our Reserve Bank, I think it's the Reserve Bank. They wrote a paper a couple of years back around how they treat cryptocurrency, and they're treating cryptocurrency almost as if it's a share. They treat it like shares. So they are dealing with it as if you bought shares and you're only paying the capital gains taxes on whatever you made on that share. The challenge with cryptocurrency is, though, especially when you're mining, because we haven't really touched on mining yet, is you getting that whole share for free, one, and you are getting it at a price point because of how obviously the cryptocurrency market's fluctuating. So that makes it really interesting to deal with from a SARS and declaring your actual income perspective, because it's not captured in that way for you to report on it in that way. But having said that, though, when is it really an income? Because like you say, the way how you are dealing with it is I'm not converting it to fiat currency. I'm trading. It's like me buying 2 eggs from you and paying you with a liter of milk.
Yes.
Like that's kind of what we're doing in this example. So
like good old-fashioned
is it-
bartering.
is it income? Really? So that makes it really interesting because I agree with you. There is some interesting uses that we haven't really thought about yet because we are really trading something different. We're not trading actual rands and cents.
Yeah, and I think what we can do here, Jannie, and this is the beauty of it, we don't have to wait for big business to hop on board so you can go to Pick and Pay and buy groceries with it. Let's start doing this between the farmers and the people in the farmers market. Pre-order your stuff, let them arrive with it, or at the market, do the transaction. People with small businesses, it's very easy to set up. I'll give some more information more to the end of the show of initiatives I want to drive, but it's very easy to get going. Once it's up and running, you can use it. And the idea of it is not to bring your cryptocurrency actually back to rands or dollars. That defeats the purpose, because that is when you actually have a paper trail for SARS. If it's in the cryptoverse, SARS has no visibility of what's happening. And that is where you want to stay. That is the sweet spot. And then you trade it for services or for whatever you want to. I've even had a scenario in my mind where I see farmers, instead of paying cash for cattle, because that's traditionally what they do, obviously to avoid taxes, well, it's no secret, do it in crypto. You've got game farmers, you've got cattle farmers. Hell, it's the best way to transact. No cash risk, no nothing, no paper trail, again, no VAT, again. So I think it's a good way to go.
For sure.
Did you see the... Sorry, go for it, Leo, go after you.
Sorry, Jannie. Yeah, I just want to add to that. The guys I've spoken to vary on the opinions, but we might have to ask a tax guy on this. That if you buy and sell cryptos and sell it within 3 years, then you get hit on, and you cash it out to your rands, and you get hit on your normal tax rate. So it's seen as an income. But if you keep it for longer than 3 years, then it's seen as a capital gains tax event. So that's what I've gauged from the guys I've spoken to.
Yeah,
But
well,
that's according to the Reserve Bank's paper, because it's seen as an asset or an intangible asset. So if you keep it for longer than 3 years, then it's an asset.
that's
But
exactly what
the guys that are traders, then
Hank said.
it's actually just an income. Just
Hank.
to confirm that.
Yeah, Hank just said if shares are not held for 3 years, it might be seen as an income and not capital. You should be careful. So there you go.
Yeah.
Obviously, Hank's a financial guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he says he also says a service for service also relates to income. To perhaps answer your question, Jannie.
So is barter taxable according to that, to his definition?
I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Hank, let us know.
Yeah, but what if I trade Carter a 1974 Ford Escort tow bar for a 1990 Opel Kadett carburetor? Is that taxable all of a sudden? It's exactly the same thing. But hey, so interesting. Did you guys see what happened? I think it was in Syria, where...
Where did your Afrikaans accent come from suddenly?
What do you mean?
This is his Viking accent.
Did you guys see what happened in Syria, like with females that's not allowed to earn an income? Is that companies are paying them in cryptocurrency, and that was one way for them to earn money in cryptocurrency, and they're not having to deal with whatever is happening, because they weren't allowed to have bank accounts and all kind of things. So that was interesting. Another interesting use case of how they could be rewarded for whatever they did in a currency that they could use elsewhere, especially if they wanted to leave the country, I suppose. There's another interesting case with refugees as well, but I can touch on that later.
Cool. I believe, Carter, there was a topic you wanted to speak about.
Well, I just want to give another practical example. Why not, like, for people that want to support you? I mean, currently they use YouTube super likes. They take 30% of that. If you have a code with a QR code with your crypto wallet, people can actually directly pay into your crypto wallet instead. And they can actually do that. And again, they don't take that 30% off. So I'm trying to kind of make it applicable to everyone, not just to the guy with the cattle, but also to the YouTuber and our fellow host. Respect. So you have to start thinking about all the transactions in your life and see where you can maybe start. Like, start with small transactions and work up. And what I want to do, and I'm going to put emphasis on this, at the end of this episode, I really want people that want to get started to contact me. I want to create a network of people and service providers that trade in crypto for that very reason. And I think we should do that. We shouldn't sit on our heels and wait for it to happen. I think we must take the technology, establish a network of people, different professionals doing different things, and get on with it. I think this whole notion of waiting for stuff to happen is nonsense. Let's say worst case scenario, the expropriation bill without compensation gets pushed through. Remember, property is not just land. It's your assets, it's your car, it's the headset I'm having on right now. It's your intellectual property, That is the Constitution's definition of property. So if that shit gets passed, we're all in a hell of a lot of trouble. But if you can take all your assets and shit does hit the fan, and you can throw it into the cryptoverse, this is what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And then you already have an established network of people that you can trade with that's ready for this, and you just go on as everything else. While the rand collapses, the rand goes the route of the Zim dollar, you're still able to transact, and you have service providers that actually can transact with you, and your money still has value, and you're increasing in value much more than, while everyone's value is decreasing inherently, your value is increasing. So just to be mindful, I'm not fear mongering here. I'm a very practical and pragmatic person. I think 5 steps ahead. So I always take the worst case scenario and prepare accordingly. That's kind of what I do on my podcast.
Well,
so,
I hate to rain on your parade, Carter, but apparently, according to Hank, property includes cryptocurrency. So, yeah.
I want to see them get my wallet.
I have 3 wallets. I'll give them my empty one.
Yes.
Nice.
Always
Did
have
you
a
guys-
burner phone and a burner wallet.
Did you guys see on SARS's returns for the last 2 years, they ask you your cryptocurrency, what you hold in cryptocurrencies, and you can't actually declare a loss anymore. So if you have made a loss in trading, then you still have to declare it. So I'm not sure. Well, I don't trade cryptocurrency, so I'm not sure if there's actually a tax benefit. But even if you trade and you make a loss, then you still have to declare it by law.
By law.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I suppose if you use Luna or something where you can transfer it back, is where you. But I mean, it doesn't make sense though that you would need to declare gains and losses in the crypto world if you don't convert it back to fiat currency, because then it means I also need to write down on my sales paper that the Sussel shares that I bought down 10 rand. No, I don't report that.
Exactly.
You know, but like I'm using Luna as an example because it's one of the more popular ones and also one of the ones that's mostly exploited. I get Luna mails often telling me that, oh, they need to change something on my click here to change your password or whatever nonsense. But that's an example of obviously where you were vetted, your banking details were vetted, you were probably FICA'd or whatever, so that you can have your currencies transferred. So
Do you want me to?
I don't know how it's going to work now.
Do you want me to tell you what Hank says about the losses?
Please do.
Hank, hit us with that hammer.
Tax losses can be used towards future losses. We're learning.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Only when the transaction occurs, the gain loss realized.
Realized.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. Yeah, it's the same applies to how you would treat shares.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So let's see. I think that some people. I know that we said we weren't going to do any like financial advice, but you guys obviously have experience with cryptocurrency. I was very lucky to make money over the lockdown. Not much, but I made a bit. And I don't know what advice. I don't want to use the word advice. I don't know how to put this because I don't want to, like we said, we don't want to give false information and people say like, oh, you told me to do this and blah blah blah. But is there anything you can say to people about cryptocurrency besides the fact that it's private or it's not government related at all? It's safe. It's digital. It's all that stuff. That's all great stuff. But how do people make money? How do people? I mean, yeah, we trade and we pay each other and stuff like that through cryptocurrency. But there's also a side of it where you can invest, and you can, some people say, oh, and buy when it's low, sell when it's high. That seems to be kind of a tedious thing to do, if I'm honest, because I tried to do that, and it's like you have to look every day, and figure out the trends and all that crap.
Volatile.
So what is your guys' opinions? Let me put it that way. Your guys' opinions on doing that method. We'll start with Louis.
Okay, so I think the general consensus is that Bitcoin. Well, let's talk. We'll say crypto, but specifically Bitcoin goes up in value over the long term. So if you buy it and hold it for the long term, it will go up in value, and that's been true since the start of it. So, I mean, my personal strategy is now I'll buy little amounts every month, between 300 and 500 rand, and then just buy it on a decent exchange like Luna or Valor, or there's about 4 or 5 good exchanges in South Africa, and then you just hold it in your wallet and you just let it sit and grow in value, because trading is very high risk. So unless you know what you're doing, you're actually not going to make money. You're probably going to lose money. So if you just buy it and hold it, then it will go up eventually. And it's very hard to not look at the price, but because crypto is so new, it has massive mood swings, and the price goes down and up and down and up. But in the end, the overall trend is up. So if you leave it for 5 or 10 years, it's gonna make you some money, and then if you cash it out, then you just take that knock on those taxes, and then I mean, if you want to cash it out, otherwise just keep it there as a hedge against whatever may happen.
All right. Anybody else got anything to add? Carter?
Yeah, so that's one way of doing that, and there's nothing wrong with that, I think. Another way of doing it, and which is a way that I did a couple of years ago when I had FOMO with cryptocurrency and everybody was doing it, is to mine it. Now, it's not the most efficient way of doing it, depending on what hardware you have available. But if you have a gaming PC that's relatively high spec, you could mine it at a small profit. But it's because, and what I'm saying with a small profit is when you mine, you're using your computer, you run a certain application that makes it, that goes through the process of mining and verifying that ledger and making sure that it's intact, and you get rewarded for that in small amounts. Those small amounts eventually add up, not add up to like 1 Bitcoin. You need to mine quite a bit to get 1 Bitcoin, but you can mine different types of currency. So Zcash, Ethereum, there's different ways of mining it. You can also buy dedicated miners for these things. So there's whole different approaches to making it out of nothing, which is kind of like what mining is. But the price you pay is really the increased use of electricity and whatever. So you need to offset those costs if you really want to start looking at mining your own currency. But that was an approach that I did, was mining it and playing with all different types of currencies and seeing how the trading works and whatever. And I have mined enough that when you leave it over a little bit, and it was at a time where kind of like within a year, it almost like my little bit went up like almost 4 times. And that was just before it crashed, like in 2018 somewhere, I think. And I could use that to buy certain things. I bought my wife shoes, I bought online games, I paid for things because some companies accept that currency. So that's one way of how I made it and used it. But it was a short-term thing. It wasn't with the longer-term thing in mind, like what Louis is explaining, which I think is probably a good thing because you'll probably be better off doing that 500 Rand a month and buying shares somewhere else at 500 Rand because, you've definitely seen that cryptocurrency, how it grows over time. And like I say, it's the digital gold because the same as what we have now, like with COVID-19 and whatever, you saw the gold price just rise incredibly over the last 6 to 9 months. And the same happened with Bitcoin. So, it fluctuates, yes, but, that's one thing that you can ride on a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's how I made a bit of money. I didn't even know it was going to go up, but yeah, I was lucky. Carter, what's your opinion?
Well, there's a third way, and I think this is the interesting one. I mean, all of these coins started some way or the other, and in their infancy, they basically, let's call it, there's a pre-sale of these coins where the value is still quite flat. They're very relatively inexpensive, and people just go buy a shitload of them. So what happens then is when it opens up to the market and with time, the initial value of these let's call it that initial first phase, the value increase is quite substantial until it becomes kind of saturated by the market, the demand and supply kind of saturates at the end, then it flattens out. But if you get in early enough, and this is where you hear a lot of these people that actually got rich off Bitcoin and these technologies, they were the early adopters, they climbed in early enough, they got in, they bought it for next to nothing, and eventually the value exploded and they made a lot of money. That's the one way. Another thing that people inherently forget about cryptocurrencies, they're not inherently currencies, just currencies. What I mean by that, behind every cryptocurrency, so you've got Ethereum, you've got Bitcoin, you've got Litecoin, you've got Dash, there's an underlying technology and an actual application. I use the BAT coin. I don't know if any one of you use the Brave browser. Now, the Brave browser does something very interesting. So BAT stands for Basic Attention Token, I think. So what they do is instead of spamming you with ads that someone pays for, they send you an ad notification, you accept it, and you look at the ad, and they actually incentivize you. They pay you to look at the ad. Now, they link that value of that BAT token to the amount of ads you watch, and you actually get little bits of BAT tokens all the time. Then what you can actually do with that BAT token, you can actually then either exchange it for another cryptocurrency or actually transact with it. So all of these technologies have an inherent technology behind it.
I got a question.
Yeah, so...
Wait, the BAT thing, right? So you watch an ad, and then they pay you a certain amount to watch the ad. Okay, how much? Like, okay, so is it like a BAT token? So how much is, like, if it's a token, how much is a token value? What's the value of a token?
Okay, so in BAT's case, I'll give you the description of BAT first, how they kind of explain it, and then I'll get into that. So Basic Attention Token is an Ethereum-based token from the creator of JavaScript and co-founder Mozilla and Firefox that seeks to revolutionize web browsing by allowing advertisers and publishers to earn more while paying users to browse the web. So I have a price chart here. So currently, as things stand, I'm using the Rand value. So 3 Rand 58 equals 1 BAT. Now, to be quite honest, depending on how much attention you give to the ad and how long the ad is, they actually pay you in 0.0 something, but eventually it might add up. I need to actually go check what my current balance is in my BAT wallet, but for interest's sake, BAT is at this stage 3 Rand 58. Now, if you look at the big daddy, which is Bitcoin, if I have to convert 1 Bitcoin to Rand, is 210,390. It just went down. So, that's a massive difference. And the interesting thing is we talked about value fluctuation. I mean, only in the last 24 hours in Bitcoin, there's an 8.9% change upwards. So, meaning if 24 hours ago I bought Bitcoin, it's now worth 8.9% more. That's the volatility of this. And that's why this is a very interesting landscape, because it is extremely volatile how things move. Generally speaking, if I look at the 1 month chart here, the lowest that Bitcoin was this month is 178,576. That was on Wednesday, the 23rd. At today, it's 210,000. So you could have made a substantial amount within 30 days if you had the money and if you invested low and high. But again, it's the nature of the beast. It is substantial. And while it does fluctuate up and down, the general trend is upwards. If I look at this chart here, and I can go back a year now and over the year as well. At the beginning of the year, at the lowest, the 24th of October 2019, Bitcoin was at 116,000. And now it's at 210. That's almost, it's almost double. It's incredible. So in a year's time, that's what you get. You went up, you started at 116,000, and now the value is 210,000. So that gives you an indication, and it's still an upward trend. So just wanted to explain that to the audience as well.
Cool. Well,
talking about the BAT one that you spoke about, CJ, have you seen CCI Coin? The concept of CCI Coin, where you rent out your computer hard drive, and
I know
that's one way of you to make money. Yeah. So
is it your computer hardware?
A hard drive. So you rent out hard drive space. So you dedicate 5 gig, 10 gig, terabyte, whatever, and you rent that out to the blockchain, and people can then buy. So if you just search for CCI Coin, I can't remember the website, you can buy like blocks of storage, and it's dirt cheap actually compared to the other big industry cloud storage providers out there. But there's 2 ways to make money. So you can either mine it, so you mine CCI Coin, which is the same way of mining like Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever. But you can also make money by literally just renting out unused hard drive space in chunks of a couple of gigs. And that hard drive space is then what's used to, in a decentralized way, store people's data. And you can make some small amounts of money off that, which, as Carter was saying, you have the watching of ads being paid for the service. This is another way of doing it. That was also an interesting concept. They haven't really launched because the coin has been quite stable.
Yes.
Or not stable, but quite been flat. It's not like
I'm gonna watch ads all day.
I think that's a good point, because anything that's stable is regulated by something, but Bitcoin is regulated by the market, so it's very wild and fluctuated. There's nothing. It's only people's perception and what the value is. There's no asset backing it, so that's actually a good thing because it can't be manipulated. But people are trying to do these stable coins that are pegged to the dollar or a normal currency, or they're trying to peg it to gold or something. But that's still easy to manipulate because the thing that it's pegged to can be manipulated, so it defeats the point of a cryptocurrency. And also we're seeing a lot of governments. There's actually talk of central government or central bank crypto currencies coming out. So we'll see the US and China and stuff trying to bring out the national currencies on a blockchain, and that race is also heating up, because if China can beat the US to that, then they'll try and secure the global reserve currency, pegged to the renminbi. Okay. How do you pronounce that?
It's almost like the space race.
Yeah. It's a currency races all over, but now it's the US and China for the currency races. Wow. So that should be interesting.
That's interesting.
Well, we have 5 minutes or 4 minutes left now, so I don't want to go over the hour. So very quickly, we had some news to break, apparently. This I think was it Louis or Carter that mentioned it earlier.
I'll give Louis credit. He was the first one to tweet it.
Yeah.
I saw it on Anthony Pompliano. He's a guy in the US that's big Bitcoin supporter. He said it on Twitter.
Cool. So Louis, you can tell us the awesome news.
Fantastic. So, but just to tie on what Jannie said earlier, when he mined crypto, he could spend it locally, because I think PayFast used to have a Bitcoin integration where you could actually buy from all the people that had that integration. So now this is pretty relevant because PayPal has announced that they've integrate or will integrate Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies with PayPal, so it will be the same. But imagine the amount of people around the globe that has PayPal as a payment option. So if you have Bitcoin, then you can pay any of their suppliers or customers with Bitcoin. So it's pretty massive. It's probably the biggest step forward for Bitcoin and crypto. And now PayPal's been pretty anti-Bitcoin up to now because PayPal is in bed with JP Morgan, the US bank, because they use them for their settlements systems. So the banks don't like blockchain and Bitcoin, but if you can't beat them, join them.
I just wanted to say, gee, I wonder why.
All right, boys. Would you say that there's more to chat about? Would you like to do a part 2?
There is. I really want to take a swab at all the scams out there, how they work and how they don't work, and talk a bit more about application. The last one I'll mention is actually, I think it's in Australia. There's a currency called Power Ledger. It's also based on the Ethereum architecture, and it enables peer-to-peer trading of renewable energy. So if I've got a few solar panels, you have a few, and you connect it to the grid and you fire this up, you can actually sell energy to each other, or you can pump it into the grid and actually get paid in this currency, which is actually a cool one that I want to get a bit more involved in.
That's really cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah. All right, cool. So let's organize. I'll chat to you guys after the show, and then we'll organize a new date for part 2. I think this is a very good introduction, and for those of you that might be watching afterwards, please leave a comment if we missed any questions, or if you have any questions watching this, you feel like, hey, I want to know more about this for your next episode. Can you answer my question, whatever it is? And we'll see if we can answer it. Remember, we're not, I don't think any of us are experts on the topic, but we do have experience. Well, these 3 guys have a lot of experience with it and know tech and know a bit about cryptocurrency, and they're just giving their opinions. We're not, once again, we're not telling you what to invest your money in. But we'll have discussions about it. And maybe you'll learn something. And I definitely learned a lot tonight. Yeah, what, Carter?
Just in closing, Joe, again, thanks for this episode. And I just want to say in closing, I will be making future episodes on how to get started, how to create a wallet, how do you take your rands and exchange it for crypto. So I'll probably have some episodes once mine are launched and they are nice and Joe likes them enough. We can have another episode on his platform as well, maybe where we take Joe and let him buy some crypto. So if you want to get involved, or you just want to trade, you want to start trading and trading whatever you're doing in crypto, pop me an email, logic@whitenoise.co.za, or find me on Twitter or Facebook, and I'll hook you up, because I want people to start adopting this technology and using it yesterday. So, and I'll be driving some initiatives to enable businesses to do just that. Sorry, Joe. Thank you.
No worries. Yeah, we'll talk a bit about more.
Awesome.
We'll talk more about that in the next episode as well. And looking forward to those videos. So once again, Jannie, Louis, and Carter, thank you so much for joining me on this show and having an awesome conversation about cryptocurrency. We'll be back for part 2 sometime in the future. So please, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Please like this video. Please share it if you found it enjoyable. And I will be back tomorrow evening. It has escaped me now what show that is. Oh, I remember. I'm actually being interviewed by Rob Jugan Marabani, who some of you may know. He's been on my show before. He's going to interview me because tomorrow evening I am doing Sit Down and Lockdown. Usually on Sit Down and Lockdown, I interview a performer, a comedian, a singer, whatever artist. I've had drummers as well. And this time I'm in the chair, I'm being interviewed. So I'm the guest, and Rob is the host. So that's going to be fun. Please join me for that tomorrow evening. And if I don't see you then, or if I see you afterwards, or whenever I see you, stay safe, be kind to one another, and I'll see you at the next one. Cheers. Hey guys, so if you enjoyed the show, please consider giving it a like and a share. Don't forget to subscribe as well if you're new to my channel. And if you really enjoyed the content, feel free to join and become a member. Don't forget about my fight against cancel culture. That's in the link in the description below. Support my fight against cancel culture. Go to that link and all the information is there. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching.